Everyone's.
Don't you
Should we
say?
dedicate tonight's meeting to the public safety services of Hawaii and safety?
Can you believe that? I was thinking we should talk about Betty and Bruno. That's who we're going to dedicate the meeting to. I'll do that.
The Coast Guard. Jet ski.
Okay.
I wish I had photos of them.
Okay. It's almost 6 o'clock. It's 5:59, according to Cupertino.
That'd be Steve Jobs.
All right. All right, the hour being 6 o'clock, we call this regular meeting of the Sonoma City Council to order. Please be courteous and turn off the ringer on cell phones and watches while the meeting's in session, please. All right, please rise as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dean,
Here.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Here.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Present.
Mayor Lowe.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have public participation using Zoom and in person. We did not have a closed session. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
Thank you. At this point, we would entertain comments from the public on any item that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone who has an item they'd like to share with us? Thank you.
Okay. Claudia Raniker, 302nd Street East. Okay, in 2016 at the Paris Climate Conference, 192 nations and the European Union started into operation with a survival strategy to eliminate greenhouse gas emissions. Focusing their efforts on the result rather than the cause of global warming, they ramped up the invention, the manufacturing, the marketing, the distribution, and the installation of the latest and greatest things to reduce CO2 emissions, creating tremendous amounts of human activity and the resulting CO2 emissions, good for the global economy, but not so for the planet. The survival strategy is that, after who knows how much stuff has been up and running for who knows how long, CO2 levels will someday begin to recede. However, today they are only compounding greenhouse gases and reducing survivability. 5 years later, on August 9th, the United Nations declared Code Red for human-driven global heating. In spite of that warning and pleas to drastically reduce CO2 emissions, leadership continues to go on with business as usual. Okay, so I believe that we can do something at the grassroots level, which is here, and I think Sonoma would be the best place to start. And I think there needs to be almost a complete revision of everything that we've got going on now, especially in the building department and whatever departments you have. We are still behaving as if we were in the 20th century, consuming excessively, having monuments, people building monuments to themselves. There needs to be drastic behavioral modification in the rules and regulations. For example, one of the things in particular, and I don't know if this, but there needs to be better definitions. We need to look at how our natural resources are approached. I don't believe that at this era, at this time of our living, that we should be allowing water to be contained and possessed as a status symbol when water has a purpose and a function on this planet. We've got to get rid of all that status stuff. First, we've got to start seeing what we can do to bring people down to a more equal value financially, or however it's done. Usually it's by wealth. We've got to get everybody on an equal keel, because where we're heading, we're going to all have to be sticking together. We're going to have to, okay, so now let me go on to what I wrote. Okay, there must be a supporting survival strategy that focuses its efforts on the cause of global warming in order to offset the advancing levels of CO2 emissions, focused on the result, and it can start at this level. That's the idea of that survival strategy. That's, okay. If we do not reduce unnecessary, this is so multifaceted. So if we do not reduce unnecessary human busyness, we will only be adding more unnecessary CO2 into the atmosphere, because those emissions from international efforts are absolutely not necessary, because they are positively and unequivocally missing the mark. We cannot go on following the behavior of leadership or its direction. There must be a survival strategy that serves the planet at the expense of the economy to offset those CO2 emissions, even if that means all of us must learn how to function with less money, less consumption, and far less frivolity as we get to the basics necessary for our survival. It is impossible to serve the economy and the planet at the same time. It is counterintuitive and counterproductive. I think it is time we took responsibility for our own lives, because it's far better to die fighting to survive than not. So
I'm just going to warn you that you're a minute over. I've allowed you to finish your talk, so just wrap her up. Thank you.
So all I have to say is I want to work with you. I have ideas. I've had experiences. And I want to work with that lady. That's it. If she would have me, and get this ball rolling. I think we have the character in this town. They're leaving. They're becoming less that have that character, that would put their backs into it rather than throw money at it. That's how much they would believe. They would give their wealth to make sure you have water. Okay?
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments from the public? Any comments on Zoom? Okay. All right. Oh, yes, please. Thank
First
you.
name is Pather, last name is Dorn. Had no intention of saying a word other than popping in for a few minutes and saying hello. But in the light of the lady's comments, just to bring notice to Pope Francis, his first letter to the world community was on the climate, and entitled Laudate Si, which means our praise for our common home. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right. Any other further comments? All right. When we get to comments here, I might have something that wraps up some of those thoughts. So moving on to meeting dedications. Does anyone have a meeting dedication? If not, I'd like to just acknowledge the passing of Betty Ann Bruno. Many of you read about it in the paper. A notable citizen, someone who enriched all of our lives through her art. It was a two-time, I believe, honoree of Treasure of the Year, who did hula dancing, which in my family is a very big thing, and so I'm very honored to dedicate this meeting to her and send our wishes to her loved ones and all the people that she touched in the Sonoma community who mourn her passing. Thank you. Council members' reports. This is a time where we get to talk about what we've been doing in our not-so-free time, and all the committees and so forth. So we'll start with Mr. Ding. Do you have something to report?
I want to report on the last Sunday, and the Mayor Lowe, Patricia, and David, and me, and I joined the Stomper and the game. Yeah, that is the representative out in the city. Yeah, really, really enjoy. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. It was very warm out there. Look at this, because the planet's heating apparently.
Yes.
Okay, Ms.
Well, I
Farrar-Rivas.
was going to close with that, but I'll start with that and just say that the Stompers were losing, and I decided we needed to do something about it. So I bought a Stompers T-shirt and put it on, even though I was already warm, and that is when the game turned around. So just wanted to
Rally caps are now being replaced by T-shirt
T-shirt rally caps.
Thank you.
And then on other committee reports. On July 26th, I attended the Sonoma Valley Citizens Action Commission, and one of the things just to alert people that is a joint power of attorney or agreement attorney, I think it is agreement, whatever it is. It's a GPA between
Something that starts with A.
yeah, first letter of the alphabet. So, and that's an agreement between the county of Sonoma and the city of Sonoma to really be able to coordinate around land use issues in regards to what the county is doing, what the valley is doing, and what the city is doing. And that GPA expires on 12/23 of this year, and so I think there's the intent, of course, to reestablish that, but that's something I just wanted to make everybody aware of, and that's something we want to start thinking about before December 23rd. One of the things that we're talking about that is noteworthy is the coordination between county, city, and the commission in regards to upcoming general plans. The county's doing a general plan, we're going to be doing a general plan. The Springs is doing their specific plan. So that's what they're going to be talking more and more about, and also being a forum for issues that are related to the general plans. At the next meeting too, I think it'd be good for people to know that they are going to have a presentation on ducks. Not quack quack ducks, but ducks, which is in regards to disadvantaged communities and statistics around that within the city of Sonoma and the Valley and Sonoma County. Then on July 28th, attended, and I'll let you expand on this, but the Pride Artist Reception, all those pieces of artwork are still here, but I will say it was an amazing reception. It was extremely well attended, and it was really fun and great to be with the artists. And then also that just also mentioned that I did earlier in July meet with Claudia Raniker, and do want to thank all of our citizens as well as yourself, sir, that are very passionate about this issue, and encourage them to bring all of their thinking, because we need everybody's thinking on this topic. So thank you very much. And we'll continue to do those meetings.
Great. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Well, I feel so inept. I don't have anything to report other than to congratulate Councilmember Farrar-Rivas for assisting the United States Coast Guard in exercising their recovery and saving exercises in another state.
That's great.
Okay, I guess you're going to have to ask him for more details. Anyway, I was pretty busy this last week. Today was LAFCO, which looks at all the area formations of districts in and around Sonoma County. We look at fire districts, water districts, etc. And there was an item on there just for information to talk about future looking at Sonoma Valley and the city of Sonoma, and should there be some discussion about annexation or what kind of services need to be provided to the Springs that are currently being provided by the city. And so we had a very robust discussion about that and where we were at, just to kind of keep that going. There are other districts that are further along in this. Santa Rosa, for example, they went out for a proposal, and they're going to start looking at the Moreland area and also consolidating their islands. These are areas within a city that are not annexed to the city. There's one specific one in Sonoma as well. you may have heard of. But there's several of them in Santa Rosa, and so they're looking at that. So it's a very interesting commission to be on. There's a lot of talk about water. Alexander Valley was talked about a lot, in the creation of a water district for, how do you start something like that? How do you begin to have a district where there isn't one? There was a lot of discussion regarding, okay, I'm going to get it wrong, striped tiger salamanders, is that right? Yes, tiger salamanders. I learned a lot about tiger salamanders today, and I need to learn more, but there was a lot of discussion in water regarding these salamanders. So that was that's a very very important commission, and I'm glad to be on it. There's a lot of good things that are going to happen from them. And then the day before that, I attended the meeting of the executive committee of the city mayors. We did a interview to hire a clerk to help with the City Mayors and Council Members Association, because it's actually an association. It's a Brown Act committee, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. And we made an outreach to someone who will be helping with that. And we are also holding the meeting of the Sonoma mayors and council members in Sonoma next week at the Vintage House, and we'll be focusing the topics on housing and some policies that will be coming up regarding housing. And August 10th, next week, yes. And apparently it's the same night as the tractor pull or some truck slam or something at the county fair. And so anyway, choose which one you want to go to, but I think we'll be better. So, although it does sound like fun. I enjoy a good tractor pull. So then, what other things? Ms. Farrar-Rivas did mention the reception that we had here, and I wanted to say that the next exhibit that will be here, pertinent to our remarks that were given from the audience this afternoon, was they're going to be about Earth Day. So the next exhibit in the council chambers will be photographs regarding Earth Day. So it'll be a time to have some more discussions about our planet and enjoy the work of the artists. And just a huge shout out to our clerk, Rebecca Barr, and everyone that helped put that reception together. It was so well attended and everybody loved it. And we'll be doing more of that, because unless you come to one of these meetings, you don't really have an opportunity to see these art pieces that we're showing, and so it's nice to have a reception where people are coming.
Just on the other side of that, many of the artists said that it came, one of them sat through a city council meeting when we presented it as first, and that happens the other way too, of the artists getting a better understanding of what happens in these chambers. So it was great.
Exactly. So anyway, it's when you do something, you get all kinds of wonderful things happen they don't even plan on, and it's great. So thanks to everyone who helped put that together. Okay, moving on, city manager comments and announcements, please.
Sure, just a couple. An update on the work over on Verano and Highway 12. We may see some construction there, some work. The public works crews were out there this morning digging some holes to put the foundations for the temporary lights that will be at those two crossings. So that's an effort that Public Works is working with the county, Caltrans, Sonoma Water to help make that happen. So thanks to the crews for doing that. Also on Clay Street, the poles are up on Broadway and Clay. So the poles are up now for the flashing lights for the crosswalk. So you'll see those go up soon. And you'll see more of those go around the city, the flashing lights. And we'll talk about that more as they go up. Just want to remind everybody that on August 1st, our online permitting system expanded to start including building permits, which is great. So now you can do building permits online in addition to planning permits that were already active and event permits. And then following up to that will be additional permits as we go over the next few months. Solar is one that's going to be coming down the road that you'll be able to do online as well. And then as a reminder, city party tomorrow. So it's please come out, and it'll be a great event. And we'll there's a little sign on City Hall if you haven't seen it yet for the city party that just reminds everybody when it is. So we'd like to see everybody out there. That's all.
And it's a city party, everybody come, and but not your dogs, right? There's no dogs allowed.
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. And if you walk or bike here, I think we have valet bike parking, is that correct?
That's correct. We have free valet bike parking, so please bring your bike and we'll lock it up for you.
Yeah, great.
And I believe next Tuesday's farmers market is the Earth Day market, right? Or is it the one after that? Am I wrong?
I'd have to check. I apologize.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
It's coming up.
Is it?
Yeah,
All right.
it's coming up.
So I do know that there is a special tribute at next Tuesday's farmers market, but I don't know about Earth Day. But there will be a special tribute, but I'm not going to say right now. You'll have to come. It's going to be so great. See you there. So tomorrow will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I've got my whole family coming into town, so meet the kids.
What time usually you will have the speech? Or
It'll be
will
at 6 o'clock.
6, okay.
And, you know, not before, because
Okay,
I'll be
6.
coming in from the city and you know what the traffic is like. So 6 o'clock. Okay, we'll see you at 6. It'll be a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun. Yeah. All right. City attorney comments.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I did just want to give you a brief update. The Fair Political Practices Commission recently adopted regulations implementing SB 1439, which is the law that makes campaign contributions above $250 into the source of a potential conflict for council members. So this law went into effect January 1st. Nobody's accepting, I don't think, contributions to their campaign at this point, so it's not a burning issue. But the new regulations go into effect August 12th, and we're preparing a comprehensive memo to help provide some guidance. And there will probably be some changes to some of our form contracts as well, requiring disclosure of those donations so that we can ensure that we aren't making decisions where there's a conflict. So look out for that in the future.
And we're supposed to, like, know that in the future, down the road, somebody that may have contributed to our campaign now has, like, a permit or something. And we're
Right.
supposed to do, like, Karnak and guess that. Is that kind of the process?
That is kind of the process, and that's why we're going to be requiring disclosures from applicants regarding campaign contributions.
So what's their option? Not ask for a permit? Return
Or-
the money?
Yeah, there are provisions if you receive the money after a decision that you've got a grace period to return it, as well as before if you want to return it. I think you have 30 days. But only the portion above 250.
So 250 and under, none of this applies.
Correct. But you do have to aggregate over a 12-month period, and as well as from a single source.
Right. Well, that's
Similar to
that's what it
the
is now.
Political Reform Act.
And this is for contributions that are given after January 31st.
After January 1st, 2023.
January 1st, 2023.
So any campaign contributions you received last year for the campaign, it doesn't apply.
And,
And there is a pending lawsuit
I was
related to
just going to
this,
say,
but
where's the lawsuit?
there's no outcome yet that would put this on hold at the time.
Right. Okay. Stay tuned. Okay, thank you. Anything else? No more good news?
The good news is that we're preparing something to kind of help, hopefully, guide you through this.
Yes. Okay. We don't have any presentations slated for tonight. The consent calendar, all items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There are no separate discussions of these items unless members of the council or staff request specific items to be removed for separate action. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? And I will get public comment.
I would like to make one comment, not
Yes, please.
not to have an item removed, but just want to comment, we have had some interest in how the parking relates to bike parking, and just want to say that everybody on this council, I can see, yes, are very in favor of bike parking being available for the plaza. I don't want to speak for everybody if anybody wants to. I think
Of bikes, right?
I think we're all on the same side there, but that issue will be dealt with, even though it's not addressed in this specific change into our ordinances. That there's ongoing discussions about bike parking. It'll be addressed in other plans, parking plans, general plan, etc.
Absolutely. And any other comments or anything? Well, let's take public comment. Any public comment on any of the items on the consent calendar? All right, any comments on Zoom? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I got to go first.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
You second.
Seconded.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
We'll have to give you that thing that they teach you on Jeopardy on how to bring your button to get in first. Okay, there are no public hearings. We're on the regular calendar, item 9.1, which is designation of the City of Sonoma voting delegate for the 2023 League of California Cities Annual Conference. And I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Rebecca Barr, to please explain.
So the city of Sonoma, among probably I think it's 480 other cities in the state, are members of the League of California Cities, now referred to as Cal Cities. The League is an association that works with all the cities and come together to, they provide legislative aid on ballot measures, legal advocacy, education. It's a way for all the cities to come together and work together. Each year the Cal Cities holds a conference, and at that conference one of the really important pieces is the business meeting that takes place usually at the end of the conference. In order for the city to vote at that conference, the council is required to select a voting delegate of the members that are registered for the conference. And at that time, what they do typically, there will be resolutions that have been presented by different cities or items from policy committees that if there had been the council, we would have presented them tonight, and the council could have given direction to whoever their voting delegate is to vote on behalf of the city. There were no resolutions received by the different cities by the deadline, so there's nothing for consideration prior to the conference. That being said, there may be bylaw amendments or petition resolutions, but that's unknown until you're actually at the conference. At this time, everyone on the council, with the exception of Vice Mayor Gurney, is going to be attending. So the action tonight would be to designate one voting delegate and up to 2 alternates, if you would so choose to do that. And with that, if you have any questions.
Are there any, is there anyone who wishes to do this, who will be at the concert? It sounds like much more fun to be at a concert. It's not a concert, guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm going
Conference.
to, and also I'm ready to.
Would you like to do that? Are you volunteering to be
No,
our
I just
delegate?
alternate here.
Oh, you're volunteering to be an alternate. That's
Yes.
very clever. I didn't know we could start with alternate. Okay, we have an alternate. I like your style, Chairman.
I'm happy to volunteer. my
Oh,
services.
thank you so much. Thank you. So we have Ms. Farrar-Rivas will be our designated delegate, and Councilmember Ding will be her alternate. Okay, and possibly there's nothing to do, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay, because you have to stay to the end. It's at the end. Did you have something
We
to
just
say?
needed a motion for that.
You need to do it in the form of a motion. So, would somebody like to make a motion to designate Councilmember Farrar-Rivas as our delegate and Councilmember Ding as our alternate? I'll make that motion since I just said it. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Any comments from the public? All right, can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
Thank you. Thank you both for volunteering. Appreciate it. 9.2 is a resolution approving the proposed water rates and initiation of the Prop 2218 public notice requirements for the 2023 water rate study. Mr. Berger, please.
Good evening, Mayor Lowe and council members. Sonoma City water rates were last updated in calendar year 2018 based on changing laws regarding conservation tiers and a thorough review of the city's direct and shared costs with the water utility. The city embarked on an update of its water rate study in 2023. The city held a public study session to learn about and discuss water rates on July 19th, 2023. And the city also completed a cost allocation plan to determine the appropriate methodology and amount to charge for indirect costs for shared services with the general fund. Following the study session, council recommended proceeding with a 5% per year rate increase to the current rate schedule. Proposed changes to rates are shown in the agenda item summary. The water rate study update process will follow the rigid guidelines of the state's Proposition 218 mandates. Staff recommends that council authorize the issuance of a Proposition 218 public hearing 45-day notice, which is planned to be held on October 4th, 2023. Depending on council direction and the count of protest votes at that public hearing, staff recommends that the city council approve a resolution adopting rate changes for implementation. The city has retained Raftellus Financial Consultants, an independent third-party financial advisor, to develop a cost of service study report to determine whether current rates are sufficient to fund the water utility's cost of service. The report is also attached here to this agenda item as Exhibit A and is available for public inspection. Teresa Juratich from Raftellus is here this evening to complete a presentation on the water rate study. And with that, I will hand it over to Teresa.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Good evening, Mayor and City Council member. Appreciate you having me back today to give a refresh on the water rates and what was sort of discussed in the direction we were given at the July 19th meeting. So I'll do a brief overview of the rate study and of the financial plan, the associated rates to go with that plan, and the next steps. So as discussed last time, why is the city doing a water rate study? The rates need to keep pace with the cost for the city to operate its water system and to provide the level of service that your customers have come to expect. Your water utility is an enterprise fund, which means it's self-funding. Revenues from other funds, the revenues that come into the water utility can't be used to help fund other things, other services like police or fire. 98% of the water enterprise's revenue comes through rate generation. The rest comes from interest earnings on reserves, miscellaneous fees and charges, etc. And by law, the Proposition 218 rates must be based on the cost to operate and maintain the water system. So the steps in the rate study, we've been through the financial plan and determining the revenue requirements. We've done the cost of service and developed rates based on that cost of service. And we're kind of now in this sort of in the fourth step there, the rate adoption, looking for your rate authorization this evening. We prepared the documentation, and legal counsel has been reviewing it. So we're kind of in that stage. And then the final stage will be the noticing to the customers and then holding the public hearing in October. So as a reminder, all the revenues that come into the water enterprise are used to pay for the water, for the costs that the water enterprises incurs each year. And those, comprise the water purchases, capital expenditures, all the rest of your other operations and maintenance costs, as well as some debt service. And based on the discussion from the July 19th meeting, we have finalized this proposed financial plan. This reflects an effective date of December 1st, 2023, with subsequent adjustments on July 1st. This is with the 5% per year adjustment and a little bit lower projection on demands, being a little bit more conservative on the demand projection. So you can see here that we are using a mix of revenue adjustments as well as drawing down on those reserves to help keep those adjustments at the level that we see here, which is kind of around where inflation has been. So with that financial plan and the cost of service analysis that was done, these are the resulting rate schedules. So you can see the current charge in the second column there, then the fiscal year 2024 rate, which incorporates the revenue adjustment as well as adjustments due to the cost of service analysis, and then 5% per year adjustments thereafter. So this is your monthly service charge, and then the private fire line charge. And then we have similar schedules for your variable charges and your elevation charge for your Zone 2 customers. So you can see the current charge for each of the single family tiers, and then the different other customer classes there. The current charge, the fiscal year 2024 rate that would go into effect in December of this year, and then the 5% per year adjustments that would occur on July 1st of the following years. And then we also have the drought rates. This again is the surcharge that the council can decide to enact should any one of these drought stages get declared. It's not a given, it's just a tool in the city's toolbox for making sure they have sufficient revenues to provide the water service. And so this, you can see what the adjustments would be, the percent adjustments based on the different stage levels. And then this shows what those dollar amounts would be for the fiscal year 2024 proposed rates. So with these proposed rates, this is the single family monthly water bill impact, and the average single family bill is about 7,500 gallons per month. And you can see that that results in about a 1.4% increase to the bill. And then this is comparing the city of Sonoma with several of its neighboring cities and towns. And you can see that it's kind of in the middle of the pack, sort of staying in the middle, upper middle of the pack with its neighboring facilities. So again, as Mike mentioned, we're seeking City Council authorization to prepare and mail out the Prop 218 notice. The staff will prepare that and mail that out, and then have the public hearing in October. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent this information.
Thank you. Any questions of staff or our consultant on this? No questions. This was presented, for those of you who were not at our last meeting, we did receive this report. This is, and we had a lot of discussion regarding it, and seeing no questions. So are there any comments or questions from the public on this report? Any on Zoom? None. Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Madam Mayor, if I can just
Yes,
clarify
please.
what we're asking today.
Yes, thank you, I
So
appreciate that.
There is the resolution of intention, which directs staff to send out the 218 notices. We also have a resolution regarding the procedures that the city will be using to count the protests, if any, that are submitted. So I would actually need two motions. So the first will be
The first,
on the resolution approving what's written here in the
in the agenda.
in the agenda, and the second one would be approval of the resolution of procedures, which is included in the package.
Okay, let's take these as two separate things, just for clarity. So can we, I'll entertain a motion on approving the proposed water rates and initiation of the Prop 218 public notice. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Okay, been moved. Is there a second?
I second.
And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk will please call the roll.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
Okay, and now we need a, it's
A
not-
motion to approve the resolution regarding the procedures.
a motion to approve the resolution regarding procedures, which is,
The
in your agenda, it is the 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet down. Hyperlink.
Yeah, it's titled Resolution.
So it's a
Of the City
resolution of the
Council.
City Council of the City of Sonoma adopting guidelines for the submission and tabulation of protests in rate hearings conducted pursuant to Article 13D, Section 6 of the California Constitution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Any comments from the public? Or on Zoom? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
Thank you, and thank you for this complete report from the staff and from our consultant. Thank you so much. All right, moving on, we are have before us to adopt a resolution approving the City of Sonoma's response to the Sonoma County Civil Grand Jury Report titled City of Sonoma Cemeteries to the Sonoma County Superior Court and authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign the required response forms pursuant to California Penal Code Section 933 and 933.05. And we'll ask our city manager to please introduce this item.
Great, thank you. And I will go ahead and present this item as well. So today we're talking about the grand jury report, civil grand jury report that was received by the city on June 13th. That report contained two things, findings and recommendation. There were 7 findings and 5 recommendations at the end of that report. As you mentioned, per penal code, we are required to submit a response by a certain timeline, which we're adhering to, and they have to be formatted in the appropriate format. And just as an overview, there's 3 cemeteries that are discussed in this report, 3 cemeteries that the city owns. There's the Veteran Cemetery, which is just across the street and north of the Vets Hall, and then north of that is Mountain Cemetery, and then down over on MacArthur Road is Valley Cemetery, and all 3 of those were incorporated into this study or report. And a little bit more background, as of July 18th, we did an assessment of capacity that is available at these 3 individual cemeteries. And as you can see, the Mountain Cemetery has 0 space left for ground burials, but does have some earth cremain locations and niche and columbarium options. Well, our biggest request right now that I'm hearing come into the office is around requests for niches and columbariums, and that's what individuals are looking for to pursue. In the Valley Cemetery, we have 0 capacity left on the niche and columbariums, so that's something that there's no room left for people to purchase those locations, and a few earth cremains. And one of the concerning items is the Veteran Cemetery doesn't have capacity for anything at this point. They are completely full based on what's been developed, so there is room for development, as you heard in a previous report. But currently, as of today, we were turning people away. So there are the findings. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. They are in the packet with more detail in the responses. This is a summary, essentially, of what those findings are. One of the findings, first finding, was that we were not charging or collecting, reporting sales tax on tangible items sold. The second finding was that we're managing collection and payment of sales tax on cemetery items wasn't delegated to anybody in the operation. The third finding was that the endowment fund that was used for the ongoing maintenance of the cemeteries was not invested adequately to generate the revenue income that's needed to maintain these cemeteries, and that the general fund was subsidizing that. The fourth finding talks about undercharging for certain services that we offer, for example, the lettering services and the sets that we sell, the ring sets and the vase sets. The fifth finding was that the cemeteries are nearly built out, and I think there's some nuance there. As I just mentioned before, their capacity is limited, but there is room for build out. On the sixth finding, there was no evidence when they did this investigation that there were policies and procedures for the cemeteries, and we don't have the fee schedule published online. And then the final finding was that the invoice forms don't have a line item for calculating sales tax. So those findings were identified by the civil grand jury. They took those findings and then turned those into recommendation that I'm going to go through in a little bit more detail. So the first recommendation from the civil grand jury report that we need to respond to was the fact that the city should contact the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration to establish procedures to collect, report, and pay sales tax on tangible items sold at the cemeteries. So our interim finance director did contact the CDTFA on July 17th, and there's some nuance there in terms of what's taxable and what's not. And so we buy bulk, a large number of items, and we went through all of our receipts to identify the vendors that we have used. And of the 18 vendors that we used, 3 were identified that did not charge us sales tax when we purchased them, which means that we would need to take care of that on our end. After talking with them, 2 of the 3 are adjusting. When they sell them to us, they will add sales tax to that, so that'll be resolved. One vendor was not able to add sales tax to the items that are sold to us. And so we would treat that just like we would any other public works inventory that we have at the yard, that when we buy things that don't have sales tax, finance goes through at the end of the year, calculates what that tax should be, and then remits that to the state at the end of each year. And so those items will be calculated and collected in that route. And we've also updated our collection when we sell things. We've updated this fee schedule to address that, and that's addressed in another item as well. So we feel we've accomplished this item here. We've fixed the system. We've identified the fix that is needed, and we actually worked with the state and offered to go back 3 years and fix what hasn't been paid in taxes, just to make sure that we're whole as we move forward. I don't have the exact number right now. When the chief financial officer gets back, he's out of town right now, but when he gets back, we're going to be working through that just to make sure we have that number defined. But it is not a material number in terms of what's going to be required. It'd probably be in the like $2,000 to $3,000 range. Recommendation number 2 talks about processes and how we're functioning in oversight of this of the enterprise. The first thing we did is we went through and updated our fee schedule. So this is one thing that came out in the findings, and then also we want to make sure we address in the operational side, is that when we charge for items that are selling, we haven't updated that fee schedule in some time, and so we were charging some that were below what it cost to purchase them. So we've updated that, and we've taken care of that, and we are in the process of looking at a fee update for all other services that we provide, just to make sure that they are in line with market rate. We have contacted EDA Land Planning, who did the assessment back in November, December of last year, to determine what the next steps would be to help go through the financing cash flow and what it would look like as we expand, what do we need to expand first, and how that would work, and how to replenish those the funds to make sure that we have our endowment fund in the right place. So that's ongoing, and this recommendation is that by the end of the year this is complete, and so we will be working with the Finance Committee as we move forward in terms of how that moves, regular updates to make sure that the Finance Committee is aware of where we're moving forward on this. Recommendation number 3 talks about the procedures and policies. We will be working on updating. We do have some policies and procedures in place, but they are not as complete as we should have for an operation like this. And so we will be working to update those by December 31st. Recommendation number 4 is that we should have a designated manager oversee this operations, which is a great recommendation. It is a big operation. It's a business. Essentially, it's an enterprise fund. We do need somebody that can focus in terms of expansion plans, marketing, working with the crematoriums and other businesses in the area, and programming the spaces as we move forward. Until that happens, I've delegated the day-to-day oversight of the overall program to the assistant to the city manager to work with me to make sure that we move this forward in a timely way. Per the policy, technically I am that delegate, but I can delegate that to other staff, but I will be heavily engaged in this as we move forward. I plan to bring forward a plan on staffing depending on where our revenue plan is by the end of the year. The 5th recommendation has to do with the endowment fund, and again, this is to make sure that we are investing correctly, that our endowment fund is in a place that can provide enough revenue for ongoing maintenance and upkeep of these sites. So that is something that we'll be working with EDA, similar to that last item, and one agreement that we're looking at with them to go through the finances and make sure that we are collecting enough and how we're managing it. And again, I plan to work with the Finance Committee on investment strategies and how we would manage those funds as we go forward. And anything that needs council action will come back to the council with a recommendation, hopefully, from that Finance Committee. So the next steps, if council agrees with these responses to the comments and recommendations, I'll submit those to the county civil grand jury. One of the things we want to do quickly is start to work on cleaning up some of these sites. There's some things that can happen fairly quickly. And so we're looking at establishing a community volunteer day at the cemeteries. We'll probably do one at a time and focus in on it and really identify what we want to get done and have the community come together to help us re-engage these cemeteries back into our community. We will be making additional updates to the fee schedule based on the market rates. So again, we are essentially in the market with other surrounding cemeteries in the area. And so we do need to look at what others are charging and where we are in terms of what we're able to receive to be able to maintain the correct revenue. We do have some initial implementation of capacity that we can do at some of the sites that had been planned and were in the recommendations that were presented to council that will have limited cost and construction needs. So a lot of above ground items that ashes can be just put into. Columbariums are what they call them, and those can be done fairly quickly, and it's a high demand that we're seeing right now. So our plan is to evaluate those and try to move forward on some initial quick items to make sure that we do have capacity for our community that wants to be there. Obviously, updating the policies and procedure is a key thing, and getting our website up to date with those and the fee schedules to make sure that those are accessible, in addition to what's available left at each site. I'm going to be working on creating an organizational structure and staffing. That's going to go hand in hand with the next item, which is the financial plan to determine what do we need to do, how are we going to generate revenue, what's the short-term plan, long-term plan for expansion, so that I can bring forward a cash flow to show how we will be able to support either a cemetery manager or whatever title that is to move forward over the next 5 to 10 years. So those are the next steps, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council.
Thank you for that really complete report. I appreciate it very much. Any questions of the city manager regarding this report? Mr. Ding.
Yes, thank you so much. This is a great timing because we still remember November 16 last year, we invited a consulting company, give us an and overall in the review, because cemetery is in the province city councils and the major item we want to fix. And this year, and then we received and the county's grand jury letter and perfect time, and also the issue after I listening to your report, and the one major one, technically maybe we need to fix the current out in the financial statement. They had a $1.2 million deficit. That's accumulated from the previous decades. Doesn't make much sense. We really don't know how to handle it, and hopefully you or outside and the third party, or I'm not sure, or an audit company, we can work together how to fix this problem. Otherwise, each year we see this and the deficit. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the 1.1 deficit was the general fund, but you're absolutely correct that the cemetery, because of the way it's been operated, has been relying on funds from the general fund to support that. So you're correct. If we can maintain and correct the deficiencies in the cemetery fund to stand alone, we will not impact the general fund. That's the intent.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Any questions, Ms. Farrar-Rivas?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I had discussions in depth with our city manager just yesterday. But the one thing I want to reemphasize is this report to the Finance Committee, so that, although, we know we have till December 23rd, a lot of this has to get in process now, and it would be good to get, kind of monthly updates to the Finance Committee, so that we know that things are moving forward, so we don't get to November and we still have a lot of things to take off this list. So that's my main request, and I conveyed that to our city manager earlier.
It seems doable?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Vice Mayor, any questions? 1 minute.
No questions. Excellent report, and you killed it.
Yeah? Oh dear, I knew that might happen. I'm sorry. Apologies. Mr. Daniel.
Mayor Lowe, I
Yeah.
just want to remind everyone, and we do have this kind of planning study that is in the flyer. It's wonderful. That is the November 16th. Yeah, I think Patricia and you, Ron,
Yeah.
maybe can ask the city manager print out a copy. Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it was a
complete,
very complete report,
report.
but, as I've said
It's very
many times about
Yeah.
reports, that there's a lot of binders and a lot of reports in a lot of binders on a lot of shelves. And what I like to see is, what are we going to do about it? So today was really a good day as far as I'm concerned regarding our cemeteries. I think this is the best day that we've had in a while, because this is an actual plan. It's unfortunate that it had to come as a request, that we have to use the 2 words penal code in order to prompt us to respond to anything. Never my first choice in terms of responses, but that's okay. Sometimes it takes, it takes a little bit of a push to get things going, and this has been years of problems, as you recall, whether it was the sales tax or the inability to expand the current offerings, someone in charge of the process. I mean, that's years. This is, so now we're at a place where we're moving forward. It's a positive outlook. I think that we owe it to the people in Sonoma to have a plan for our cemeteries. Especially our mountain cemetery is not just a cemetery, but it's a historic piece of our history. And anyone who hasn't hiked through there, you really need to do that, because it's an amazing way to learn the history of Sonoma. And you'll see so many names there of people who just still are people in this town, and it's very important that we maintain this, because this is our community. So thank you so much for this. I think, is there only one resolution? I'm looking at Mr. Ruderman. I see a lot of other resolutions, but this one is just the resolution regarding the grand jury response. So-
Just one
yeah,
other comment so I walk by the Valley Cemetery and in the Valley Cemetery frequently. And it is also has some very historic pieces to it as well,
Absolutely,
too.
it does indeed.
Quite a bit. But I would also say that there's been a lot, I can see that there is work being done on that cemetery. There was a fence that was down that's no longer down. There were trees that have been cut down and not removed. And a lot of that is in process. So just evidence to folks too that things are physically, as you're saying, there's activity happening to improve, the maintenance of the cemetery I walk by all the time.
Thank you for that. You're absolutely right. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution approving the City of Sonoma's response to the Sonoma County Civil Grand Jury Report titled City of Sonoma Cemeteries to the Sonoma County Superior Court and authorizing the mayor and the city manager to sign the required response forms pursuant to California Penal Code Sections 933 and 933.05.
And Mayor,
Yes.
do you want to ask for public comment?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I thought I did. Public comment? Oh, yes,
yes,
please.
great.
Thank you. My apologies.
Again, first name is Padder, last name is Dalton. I am an active member of the local Sonoma Valley Ministerial Association, so I know I can speak loudly and clearly for the organization, especially for Rabbi Steve, who's our president. Happy to help in the volunteer day any way we can to push it or to get people to be a part of it. Awesome.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dalton.
you.
Appreciate that very much. Any comments on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, back to the motion as stated by me.
So moved.
Okay, moved. Is there a second?
second.
And the second by Mr. Ding. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, clerk will please call the roll.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Lowe.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
Thank you. We are on commission and committee rosters. It does say here that this is information only, but there are some vacancies. So I would really request that at the next meeting that this be put on for action to replace the people who have, and if you could just tell us who who we will be replacing so we can have that ready for next time.
Well, we just put out the news release for applications for 2 positions on the Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission. We still have the youth member and the alternate for the Traffic Safety Committee. And then there's another one that's the Sonoma Housing Corporation, which is it's a little bit different, but that does have one representative available as well. Applications are able to be submitted, and so I ask everyone to do so, and for all of you to encourage individuals if you know anyone.
Yes, so let's encourage people, and if regardless of whether we have any, can we please put this on for action, because it's important that perhaps someone who's an alternate might be able to be moved up to a regular position, and we can't do that tonight because of how it's agendized. So, but we might get applications as well, so let's give it some time on that. And then as far as committees, any comments from the city council regarding your committee assignments or anything else that we need to know about? We've sort of been assigning people to sort of follow each of these. I mean, I don't know if any concerns. Everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy, so I guess not.
No, I mean, I think the only thing I would
Yeah.
say is, and it's not for us to do now, but looking to the future, there are, some commissions that meet quarterly and kind of so the Sonoma, the Climate Action Commission, kind of was a brand new committee, only meets quarterly, kind of hard for it to have enough time to really understand process and procedure and to be able to get good input into the budget. And they're now working on the plan that will which I think is really important for people to know, that they will be presenting a plan to City Council, which will be a climate action plan.
Great.
And that'll be coming up. So that's important. And then as the Sonoma Valley Citizens Action Commission, just, that is, since it is county and city, I think that those positions that are open do not, it'd be good for us to mention the jurisdiction people need to live in, because they don't have to be from the city of Sonoma.
Our two appointments have to be qualified electors in the city of Sonoma.
They do, okay, so those will be for the city of Sonoma, and I would say, just for anybody that's interested out there, I can tell that we have a big public audience here. But it is a very interesting commission to be part of, because they do discuss a number of different issues, and they're thinking about are they going to broaden the scope? But it really does expand to issues that affect all of us in the county and the valley and the city, whether it's, land use or climate or healthcare, economics. While their focus is on land use, all of these other issues are touched upon.
Okay, very good. Any other comments regarding commissions, committee rosters, or anything under this category? Okay, none. Well, seeing nothing else, we are adjourned. 7:06.